is this going to be just an audio podcast, or are we using this video as well?
I might do I've started it with the video, but I've extracted the audio into a podcast. So I
Okay.
was I was thinking using the video as well. But I used to, well, with the series I've gone to on location in somebody's, say, studio, and interviewed them in person, which I have them. It's generally just a subject in frame, where it's not just like
Right.
um, with I'm in frame as well now, side by side with Zoom. But well, circumstances, we have to adapt, and I wanted to continue the series, um, so I'm checking out Zoom, see what we
Yeah.
can get. Visually, though, I'm like, I don't want to be in frame. I don't like looking at my my face myself. But
Let me. Is that okay? There's like a couple. There's like a naked lady drawing on the wall. Is that okay?
oh yeah, totally.
I mean, not you personally, but in general. I know it's totally fine with you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, that's fine, man. Like the whole kind of premise of the series is really keep it, look like real, just honest conversations about craft, and really, so really no censorship, and just express ideas, and communicate with other artists globally. And so
Yeah.
there's lots to talk about, like, well, now it's, however, I mean, thank you once again for joining my series Uncontaminated Sound, which I've started with capturing stills backstage of a lot of bands, including well, I captured Ben and Kyle too in Boston in December, I believe, before this year. So around December, was it? So I've captured a lot of bands backstage and really intimate portraits, and I started this year the interview series via video. I wanted to add a new layer to stills, so
Yeah.
I thought you would be a great subject as well, where you have multiple facets, and you've worked in different media forms as well. So
I've been backstage.
yeah, yeah, well, yeah. So I guess where to the begin? At the beginning, right? You grew up in Cincinnati, I believe, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Our whole family's from Cincinnati, on the west side of Cincinnati, and it's and all of us, our general family now, my mom and dad, my sister, my brother, and myself. None of us live there anymore, but we all have really deep connections there with old friends, and but yeah, our upbringing was definitely west side of Cincinnati, suburbia, Catholic schools, parishes. You
Mm.
know, it's a weird, kind of a strange place when you leave there and go to New York City or LA and see, you know, all the different types of kids going to school together. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I never had that.
Now, growing up in that west side of Cincinnati, did that culture like influence your work, or did you always have a knack for drawing too? Um,
Yeah. Well, totally. I mean, I don't know if I have Catholic guilt. I don't. I even as a little kid, I always found church really boring,
yeah,
and I always wonder if I have like Catholic guilt, because I don't think I have it in the most general sense, but you know, um, I think it did shape. I guess my brother and all of our whole families are kind of just our general niceness to people. I mean, we have a really good family that is generally just kind and generous to people, but um, we never that spiritual. I never believed in, some sort of ghost or God.
yeah,
But and as far as my art, um, I always loved to draw. I mean, even when I was a little kid, my favorite I always had my mom draw for me, you
Mm,
know.
yeah.
The first thing, yeah, before I ever liked films or anything else, I love to draw, and I always had my mom draw cars and I always wanted the cars that have flat tires.
Yeah.
You know, I want all the tires that have flat tires. And I still remember that to this day. And I kind of like, I'm right now in my head, I want to create a whole cars with flat tires series. You know, like
Oh, yeah.
I'm drawing again after a long time of not kind of stopping drawing and working on movies and documentaries. And I'm still doing all that stuff, but it's just a personal thing for me. But yeah, I took art from a woman in the neighborhood that my brother took art from, my sister took art from, and you know, she kind of taught me the early, you know, she taught me to look at a person's face, you know, and look how, you know, the eyes are, you know, the forehead's half the face, and the face is actually very small inside that, you know, she gave me the basic fundamentals.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she was just a neighborhood, a friend of the family's that was an artist. And then in high school, I went to a Catholic, all-male Catholic high school
Oh, whoa. Yeah.
that my brother went to a different all-male Catholic high school, but I went to my dad taught, all my uncles went there, my dad taught there, my other dad taught there, and it's like where I went was like a long generation of Berningers went there, and so I felt like I didn't want to buck the trend like my brother did, and I went to this particular high school. And it's and if you can imagine an all-male Catholic high school in the west side of Cincinnati, mainly a lot of the I I have fond memories of high school, but as of late, you know, our high school is known for you know, producing a lot of cops and a lot of football players.
Mm,
And but the one thing we did have, and for being a private school, you know, they could teach, you know, they didn't have to have too many restrictions. And my art teacher, who was also my journalism teacher, he was unbelievable. He was a bohemian. He didn't give a shit about Catholic stuff, and like he really nurtured the outcasts of the school.
mm,
And my art teacher from high school, Bob Beeman is his name, he was unbelievable to a ton of students. And so he really kind of like, he was the first guy to like say that I'm funny, say that I've got things to say, and also tell me like, hey Tom, if he looks at one of my pictures during a crit, he's like, hey Tom, I think your ideas are bigger than your talent on this one, you know.
mm.
And he, you know, or he'll tell me maybe, like, maybe the piece is done before you are, you know. And so he'd tell me all these kind of things that I've taken to heart these days with everything I do.
Cool.
But if it wasn't for Bob Beeman, my art teacher in high school, I don't know where I would be right now. Everybody's got stories like that, though. You
Oh,
know?
yeah. Yeah. So out of high school, did you go to like a fine arts college, or did you go to film school or something like
I
that?
went
Or
to film school in
yeah.
Montana State University.
Oh, whoa. Yeah.
A cousin went there. I wanted to get out. I didn't take my issue with school was that I took standardized tests really poorly,
Mm,
and I applied. I didn't want to apply to NYU or USC because I didn't want to fail. You
yeah.
know, because I just knew I completely fail at standardized tests. I'm not an idiot, but
Yeah.
I just take I can't handle that kind of pressure well.
Yeah.
I'm one of those guys that spends 15 minutes on one question and then just like circles in all the bubbles running out of time. That was
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
So, but Montana State, I still had to take a test for that, and they did accept me. That's the only I applied to there, and I think Florida,
Mm,
University of Florida. I think they had a really good film program, and I got into both, but I didn't want to go to Florida.
yeah.
You know, um, and I had a cousin that went to Montana State, and I said, like, you know what, I'm an indoor kid from Cincinnati. I want to like go somewhere that I could just do crazy fun stuff. And so I went out to Montana and kind of did like westerns, you know. And
Cool.
they still have a really fantastic film program. I'm kind of close to them. I'm still close to a few of my professors, kind of close. I still talk to them occasionally.
Yeah.
And you know, I was on Nature Channel documentary shoots, and all my films in college were, you know, kind of pseudo westerns.
Mm,
and it was super fun. What are you doing? Sorry. And so I was really, Montana was an interesting experience, but a great place to go to film school and just be forced to get out of your bubble and create weird nature films and Westerns. I made a trapper film. My brother's behind me doing weird shit.
Hey.
Hey, man.
Who are we talking to?
Hey, I'm Rob. Rob from Uncontaminated Sound, the series where I just document artists and musicians and the like. So, how you doing?
Okay.
I guess did you meet Ben and Kyle one time, or you just photographed them backstage somewhere?
Yeah, actually, I've met them a few times. I've shot them in Boston backstage, and I met them at when you guys played at the Benefit Upstate in New York in Hudson Hall. Yeah, as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've kind of Ben dug my photos, so we've just been kind of communicating on that level, and I finally get to kind of go backstage and shoot them and get some nice horn shots, So
Great.
Nice horn shots. Yeah, this guy's always provide nice horn shots. Ben's got quite a trombone. Anyway, I'll let you guys get back to it. Do you need me for anything?
What are you doing?
This is live on Instagram.
Oh, he's Instagramming
Rob,
live.
you're live on Instagram. Tell where should they watch this Tom's podcast?
It's at Uncontaminated_Sound on Instagram. Yeah. So,
Okay.
and on YouTube.
_Sounds on Instagram. Okay,
Yeah.
Check it out.
And what else? Do you say something else?
YouTube. That's where the full series will be on YouTube. So.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pulling back.
All right.
Pulling back. Tom, this is.
He didn't have as cool of art teachers as I did.
Yeah.
All right, maybe you did.
Mrs. Meyer and Mr. O'Brien.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mrs. Meyer and Mr. O'Brien. Who's this, Tom?
All right. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. So also like kind of like growing up as well, did you have any musical inclination, or was that Matt, or how did or were you more visual?
No, I think Matt would also say this. Like, our family wasn't a really like a record collecting family. And I'm like 10 years younger than my brother and sister, and they were in college by the time I was like 9. So when I discovered music, I had like my early stuff was obviously like Weird Al Yankovic, and I loved that. And then I think my first musical thing I ever bought for myself was the soundtrack to Little Shop of Horrors. And I used to love that kind of doo-wop, kind of that whole Frank Oz movie score. It's from the movie, from the Rick Moranis movie. But then I think later, with friends, I think I just kind of dipped around a little bit in music here and there, and just kind of got I got the MC Hammer tape when it came out, I don't know what it was called, Pray or something like that, or something like that, or You Can't Touch Us. It was that album. I think that was like my first real album I got, the MC Hammer album. Not knowing what the hell it really was, but it was like I liked it a little bit. But I think the first real music I really got into was the Metallica's Black Album. That was the first CD, and the actual CD player. I got a little boombox with a flip top CD player, and it was Metallica album, or Black Album, whatever you want to call it. That was the first album I really liked, and kind of defined who I kind of wanted to be. And then in high school, in high school, everyone's trying to, create define themselves in a different way and kind of set themselves apart. And I thought to myself, if I like Metallica, but I didn't like all the metal that was happening. I like Metallica, but then I said, why is all the 80s metal kind of, people laugh at that now? This is during the grunge years. And so I kind of ironically just started to listen to, you know, AC/DC and Judas Priest and Iron Maiden. AC/DC is more rock and roll, but I started listening to Judas Priest and Iron Maiden, and just to be ironic, to like throw that on or be listening to the headphones in class or in my car, blaring it out, you know, out as I, you know, at 16 years old, having that on instead of some like popular music of the day. And I knew it was unpopular at the time, but I really started to actually like it and kind of dig it. And from there, I just kind of went down a metal hole, you know, the metal hole.
Yeah.
And kind of discovering other music, and I still listen to metal these days, but I obviously with my brother, and you know, I like a lot of different types of music. But
Yeah.
when I'm in a good mood, when I'm in a good mood, I listen to metal.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So what did you have any directors that really influenced your work, like style and visual language during you know, film school? Did you really have
Yeah.
influences, I guess? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the typical male, and the typical influence is a guy like me, a dude that wants to be a director in high school. You know, Sam Raimi, Evil Dead movies, and
Yeah.
Peter Jackson with Dead Alive or Brain Dead.
Yeah.
You know, Sam Raimi was like the most obvious. Like, as someone who wants to learn about filmmaking, Sam Raimi's techniques were so over the top. It's like he was part of the movie. His camera work was part of the dialogue of how you're supposed to feel, and like the whole aesthetic of the movie was so in your face that like, oh, there's a filmmaker making this, you know.
Yeah.
And that, you know, I like dumb horror movies. So it was the Evil Dead stuff, you know, and then I went, you know, I had to bring my dad. My dad had to take me to see Army of Darkness because I was too young.
Nice.
And then then Peter Jackson with Dead Alive and all that gore. I knew that these were good filmmakers, you know, they were like craftsmen.
Yeah.
And I guess like it's fun. I say the first time that I ever really noticed a like when little kids watch movies, because I'm really close to my brother's daughter, my niece, and you know, little kids, you got to be careful because they can't quite understand between a movie and kind of reality. You know, it takes a long time, and you know, and it's this weird thing. And I think the first time I realized a movie was something different was more than it was not real, and there were people that made this thing, was in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. When in the very, very beginning, when Kate Capshaw's character Willie comes out of like that smoking dragon before the big dance number, and with the smoke behind her, and literally her body is standing in front of the typeface of Indiana Jones, and she's blocking half the Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
And she's blocking it. I'm like, that's weird. You know, like I didn't know what I was seeing there. I was like, that's a choice, you know? I think that was the first time I thought of like that was a stylistic choice. And then the whole weird dance number before Indiana Jones. I think that was the first time I really understood that like people put these things together, and there's a whole, and besides the credits, but there's like people that make these things. Yeah.
And so after film school, where'd you go from there? Like, I'm just trying to build some background and really get understanding, because the work I've mostly known of yourself is Mistaken, of course, and I'm not too familiar what else you've worked on, and in film or documentary stuff, or
well, after film school, you know, I went to New York, and I PA'd on a bunch of movies. I PA'd on Charlie Kaufman's first movie, Synecdoche, New York.
Yeah.
And that was really fun and wild, and of course I'm not on IMDb. I think I might be in the credits, but I'm not. They don't have me in IMDb. I worked on that film for like 8 months.
Whoa, yeah.
I'm letting people know. So I worked on that, and I worked on worked on Taking Woodstock, the Ang Lee movie. I
Yeah.
worked on. I PA'd on a bunch of different movies.
Cool.
The Biggie Smalls movie, I did that.
Okay. They do have you credited for Taking Woodstock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was wild, and like I loved working on that. And Ang Lee, I never really met him. I said hello to him. I never met him personally, but
Yeah.
I was at the. He just said something really. I was at the rap party, and it was also his birthday, I think, and we were in a big restaurant down in Chinatown somewhere, I believe. And he went up and just gave a speech. He just kind of gave a speech because it was his birthday. And he kind of, as a director, he said, like, if you ever talk to any, people who aspire to do these things, like people think I know, these directors know everything. Or to summarize what he said, he was basically like, all you can do is prepare the best you can. And I'm not going to say I'm not terrified every day going in here. I prepare, we all prepare, and we all do our best, but I can't do it without you guys. But but the focus on was just, being a kind person and to be understanding of waiting for people to work it out and not being a blustery asshole on film sets. We're all trying to make something good. And anybody who has an ego, who thinks they can just shout and scream and this is their vision, it's like, and not listen to anybody. That's not how he works, and he goes in and he just says like, yeah, it's scary. Making movies are scary. There's so much money on it. And, but like, I'm so lucky for what I do, but I'm just, he's speaking to me and I'm interpreting this through what I felt listening to him as a struggling filmmaker still to this day. I've made my mark a little bit. So I don't want to say I'm struggling, but, it's just embrace the fear and be a human being and everybody's scared, just be kind when you have moments of doubt.
And now wrapping into current times, with everybody being scared, and how do you think? I don't know how you guys handling it. Everybody's safe and sound over there, family wise, and how are you expressing that via your art? I guess, and how.
Well, Matt and I are I've been kind of busy with other things. My brother's got a whole bunch of projects going on. My brother mainly keeps me busy these days with.
Cool.
I'm kind of. I shoot videos for him with my housemate Chris, who just shot the Holes video.
Nice.
My brother's kind of solo project coming out in a few months. So I've been, and my housemate Chris, who's also my DP, he and I shot the entire recording session of that. It's called Serpentine Prison, and my brother and Booker T. Jones. Booker T. Jones is the producer of it, and so they have a whole bunch of cast of great musicians coming in, and we shot the whole making of the record in the studio, which is great, and we're just trying to figure out stuff to do with it. So I got a lot of that, and that all happened before this terrible pandemic. But and so I haven't slowed down. Excuse me, I haven't slowed down drawing, but it's different now. And my brother and I are cooking up a few things. You might be seeing stuff in the next week or two, maybe. But we before all this, we've been cooking up Mistaken for Strangers stuff again, but we want to be sensitive and be careful. And I mean, this is the time people are looking for content, but that's not the reason why. We've been trying to make Mistaken for Strangers stuff for the past 4 years.
Yeah.
Writing scripts, shopping it around, it's kind of doing the whole Hollywood thing. And we got some great stuff, but we're still trying to figure out the structure, if it's, and the relationship. But yeah, it's scary, and it's, I guess it's for me, it's sometimes it's really, I'm a sensitive person, and I get down a lot and I struggle with that, and I'm pretty open about that stuff. And to be funny, it's hard for me to be funny when I just see a lot of pain and frustration and anger happening all over the world.
Mm.
And I have to really try to force myself to look at all the amazing things that have happened to me, and not and take those and use those to good use. And I guess because if I let too much stuff in, it really brings me down, and I have to kind of compartmentalize my fears and my anger, and because that can just take me over, and say like, I'm in a very lucky position, and I do have a small following that people like my art, whatever it is, whether it's videos or drawings or whatever. And I should do that if people like that, and try to help and try to talk to people and communicate as best as I can, and be honest how the way I feel.
Yeah.
But yeah, right now nobody's sick here. We're not really in the situation that you are, like in New York City.
Yeah.
How are you guys doing? Are you
I'm fortunate to be like an hour away from the city right now. A place called Yorktown Heights, so it's like an hour away from the city. I was living in Brooklyn like last year, but housing situations, I kind of moved away from the city. So, but I knew I have lots of friends in the city, and everybody's kind of isolated, and I've been trying to kind of link up like this and connect and talk to people about how they're feeling, because I feel like, we're not in this alone, and people really really need to express themselves. So I'm trying to, really connect with people on, via, the web at least,
yeah,
and let them express openly on how they feel. And I found that to be super supportive, knowing that we're all in this together, and that there are people feeling the same way. Like I've been ups and downs. Yeah, I've had to battle with anxiety and depression all my life, most of my life too. And when the news kind of hit like last month, or like with quarantines and stuff, it was kind of super heavy on me. So I've been myself. I've been trying to take it day by day, and constantly create as well. Draw. I do a lot of pencil and charcoal stuff. Continuing, my photography and my series here with Uncontaminated Sound. So I just try to avoid the news too. Like maybe 10 minutes in the morning. That's it, because that'll get me into like, the cycle of like, oh man, So it's like it's kind of surreal, but I feel like there's opportunity for all of us as humans to rethink things, the way we've kind of built society and how we've been living, uh, and how we engage with each other as well. So
totally.
I find there's potential in humanity, with even during disasters, and you see that throughout history. So it's I don't know. I'm just I guess like everybody else, just trying to take it day by day, but also like continue creating is really important to me as well.
For sure.
Yeah. Um, how's it out there in California? Like SoCal, correct? Or
Yeah. It's bad. I mean, it's a city. We still think we're not going to hit our peak until a month from now, maybe.
yeah,
I don't know. I'm no scientist. I'm no scientist, but I wonder. I'm just curious, since a lot of LA is so spread out,
yeah,
that like I wonder if the content, if like I wonder if that's going to help it at all, where we're not on, there's not millions of people that touch the same entryway doorknob,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and there is a lot of space to walk around and kind of definitely be certain areas of LA at least. I don't know. I'm sure it's kind of, I hope it doesn't get bad, but we're all preparing like it will,
yeah. Yeah, it's. I think New York is obviously, we're just so condensed, and the city is just everybody's on top of each other, and the masses of people. It was bound to be like a kind of epicenter for the spread. So it's yeah. I think it seems like the numbers are kind of getting better, but I've kind of been fluctuating in and out of trying to digest all this information, and just today I'm just focused on creating. So I don't know,
Right.
but I added like questions, like a question for you would be like, how do you think like like industries like the music industry and live entertainments, film and arts will continue, post, with all these layoffs? And do you think things will be the same, I guess, like with live performance or films as well, or culture?
Yeah, I do think things will go back somewhat the same. I think uh, you know, I think it's gonna be a really rough year for all live acts. My brother's in a good position. Where they're lucky. That they might be able to. They'll definitely be able to weather this. But like, but it's still every band. It doesn't matter any of the size. They have crew members underneath them that schedule their dates out like and to work with these guys. The crews are actually what I'm more scared about.
Yeah, yeah,
And and it is any touring band that makes their money solely from touring. It's going to be a rough year, and it has to be a creative year for everybody, I guess, to try to figure out what to do. But it's the smaller bands for sure, that the smaller bands that can live and have a lifestyle that they want, but also need to tour quite a bit to have that lifestyle. And they have a great, they're able to tour and then live off that tour and then tour again, and that's what's scary,
yeah,
and because they don't make a ton of money, especially metal bands,
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, but I guess I hope and I think that like once there's a vaccine of some sort, people get vaccinated. But I can't imagine. But of course, I never quite imagined this. But I can't imagine movies, theaters, and sports arenas, and that's still going to be there. Like we need obviously we need as human beings kind of to stand next to each other and share an experience.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess I don't want I don't want to sound cold or anything, but like I'm so happy that this horrible COVID-19 thing isn't more deadly. Maybe this is like God. This is a great. This is terrible, but like just thank God this wasn't something far worse. Even though there's going to be a lot of people die, but like we're so unprepared.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I can't I thank God if we're going to be unprepared for a pandemic. I don't know how we would be if it was anything worse.
Oh yeah, no, it's if anything, like disaster movies should have taught us, of how
Right.
to prepare. Like I think it's trending. What is it, Pandemic or something like that? What's the film where?
Contagion.
Yeah, Contagion. Yeah,
My Chris, my housemate, he just watched Contagion. I'm like, why are you watching that stuff, man? And my sister did too.
yeah,
Like, why put yourself through that mental? Like, why? Like, watch something like positive about humanity or something.
that's true. Yeah,
I say go watch movies made in the early 40s during World War II, and when it was really dark times and they got through it.
yeah.
Watch that. I think watch like I kind of want to watch documentaries on Winston Churchill, and documentaries on FDR.
Yeah. Well, that's where it's like, during that those eras, that time period is like there was a unified front of let's get behind this cause. And here we see like, kind of slow response and like, bifurcated, you know, selectivity of where the funds would go to different states and not other states. So it's like, I feel like we're kind of lacking that togetherness, maybe, that stems from, above, and generally stems from above, trickles down. So that's what I've noticed though. It's like, if you observe history and watch those documentaries and read about that time period, is like, we're going to stand together as a nation and fight back, or the industries started, had to adjust what they manufactured and turned it into the war effort, and citizens stepped up to protect the nation. And here it's like, in New York, there's nurses dying and because they didn't have proper mask and equipment just to do their job. It's like there's a hospital that's been featured in the New York Times that they've only had trash bags to protect themselves. And it's like, we're supposed to be a developed nation, but we have these incidences of where money's not, and funding's not coming in for preventing and testing. It's so it's like surreal, like, I guess. But
yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know, this is obviously this whole COVID-19 pandemic. I think if Bernie Sanders doesn't convince people that our health system is broken and just people in general need help, COVID-19 is going to do the job for him. It's like, look how just look how like underprepared we were, and people are wondering, if I do get it, like am I going to be like, you have to pay thousands of dollars out of, or is my insurance going to cover it? Or if I don't have insurance, like this terrible flu thing that like is very well could have been contained much better than it is. Am I going to be out $9,000, $7,000 for a hospital visit or more? Or am I going to die? Obviously.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know. Everything's happening so fast, and it's just so complicated. And I'm sorry, it is somewhat political. It's like, I don't know. It's gross, but I think we all have to fight for what we believe in, and I don't like the guy in charge. I think Donald Trump's terrible.
Yeah.
And he really kind of screwed up on this one, just for the fact that like they didn't think it was gonna be that big a deal, and therefore we didn't.
Yeah.
Like, it's so funny. It's like so many people don't like the guy, but like if we didn't hear about it and he was like, oh, it's COVID, like I swear to God, I do not like Donald Trump, but when he was kind of early days, when he was talking about like, this guy, it's not a big deal, we're watching it, and like I felt like he's a president, I guess so, like he always has people that are telling him stuff, but he's even lying about that. And like I like, nobody in America was prepared for this.
No, exactly. Yeah.
If Donald Trump would be like, this is a big deal, we got to figure this thing out, we would all be like, okay, what do we do?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that's the thing with if you compare like George W., which obviously I wasn't a big fan of either. He's no saint, but at least he had a quick response to the towers, and that reaction, and at least he pretended to unify the nation in the front of, in the wake of terrorism. But this is going to be, the loss of life could be 10 times, 30 times greater than 9/11, Right. And we get this guy saying, I'm not going to give you funding because I don't like you, or you spoke bad about me, so I'm not going to give you funding,
Oh, I
you
made
know?
a joke about that like a week or two ago. Like, he's going to probably only give the states the red states money, and he's gonna punish the blue states, and that's exactly what he's doing.
Yeah,
Basically, I'm like, oh my god, he's actually what a weirdo.
yeah, man.
What a doofus.
It's just like, how did this guy get in? And you still have to reflect and like, oh, that election, it was just so soul crushing. I'm like, we're gonna be put back 50 years, like 100 years. We're going forward. We're progressing as a country, implementing social programs and education. And now this guy's like, nope, nope. All the Obama era kind of like good programs, he's like, nope, nope. I'm like, oh, this is dystopian. It's I'm like, I don't know how I feel about it. It's been confusing, a bit, and I also have to deal with kind of like anxiety, so with that fact. But
I just wonder, like, like very, very early on, I knew Donald Trump was such a creep, and just the way he made fun of handicapped people and just disgusting lies and sexual assaults, and he was a piece of shit.
yeah,
But he craves people to like him. And I thought, like, what would be the smartest fucking thing for him to do? Is like, I'm gonna do healthcare for all. Like, if you really want people to like you, Donald Trump, you had the Republic. You had you're the guy who's gonna buck the system.
yeah,
And like, he could have been this wild, crazy, beloved character, but it's not in his nature. Like, he could have been totally loved.
yeah,
By all people, and he could have been a great president, a wild, crazy president, if he just, even though he's a racist piece of shit in his heart, but Mike, like, he could have fucking hid that from now on and did some great things. Like, I don't know what, like, because he has no moral code, he has no compass, he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing.
no.
But he chose all the worst instincts. But if all he could have done was, what? I am going to give him healthcare for all. That sounds like a good idea. Obama couldn't get it done. I'm going to get it done.
Yeah.
We're like, what? Okay.
So yeah, exactly. If you built off the previous, presidency and expanded the nation instead of taking it back, it's like, people in this country that can't afford to eat, or it's crazy, man.
Yeah. He championed himself as like this everyman kind of guy.
Yeah.
And he is being controlled by the whole Republican machine, and he's just disguising himself as this everyman guy that knows what the worker's all about, but he's just, it's just all about huge corporations and giving money, just pushing all the money to the very top.
Yeah.
Like, he had it all there, even though he was such a racist, even though he was such a racist piece of shit when he stepped into that office, he could have reversed it all.
Yeah.
He could have actually done some great things.
Well, it's funny though. It's like the people who voted for him, like, he's like, why would you even think this guy even gives two shits about you? It's like, you're the antithesis. His voter base is the antithesis of who he cares for. He cares only for the 1%, the billionaires club. And it's like, I don't know. I have these crazy friends that like love idols, and I don't know. They've been infatuated with like wrestling all their lives. They're about 40 now too. They still have this like love for idols. So I don't know. It's like, is it because he pretends to be this like caricature, this character, this wrestler that, like this persona? Is it their love for celebrity? What is it? It's like, because everything he does is against their best interest, and they're gonna start losing jobs, because of that.
It's just I think it's just owning the libs. Owning the libs. I don't know, whatever they were fed on Fox News, whatever, like how we're just destroying Christmas, because now we don't have Christmas anymore. Did you realize that? No one celebrated because the liberals destroyed Christmas.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just owning the libs.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah. yeah, it's like, right, it doesn't matter what he does, it's just there's us v them, you know, it's us versus them. And it's like, that's not a nation, you know, it's that's what he wants. So I mean, that's the neoconservatives plan all along has been to, you know, bifurcate the nation and going to separate the people. And when you separate a people, you can just take hold of power, you know. And
Yeah.
so you see, we've seen clearly some destabilization of, you know, democracy. And I hope that at least art can express, you know, and critique these critical times, you know, through whatever chosen medium. And you know, so I, I would love to see more artists like create some deep work from these scenarios, you know.
Totally. I mean, yeah, you're right. And it's so weird. I sometimes, like I said before, I get a little skeeved out by like, do I produce more content now than ever? Because, but like, I feel like, am I taking advantage of the situation?
Hmm.
But I don't know. Like, no, I mean, we all have time. Oh, I should have copped into my elbow.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but you know, it's there was all, you know, it's great. There was great work happening. You know, some of the, I mean, best art was, you know, made during really horrible times. You know, and
Hmm.
you know, um, and so yeah, I mean, I think we all should, I guess, and I just sometimes I psych myself out and I think too hard about these things and then I paralyze myself and I don't create anything.
True. Yeah.
Um, uh, but as far as art goes, yeah, I mean, just last night I thought like, you know what I want to do I want to do a series, well, a series of drawings. Um, I'm always trying to figure out like what kind of artist am I? What do I want to draw? You know, like what moves me? You know, I really don't care about what people want or you know, and I just all I want to do is draw the smoking section solariums of Wendy's restaurants in the late '80s, where
Yeah.
they had those like tables that were like newspaper clippings, like old they had like old timey newspaper like uh, linoleum or whatever, like those tables in Wendy's back in the '80s. They had like old fashioned newspaper you know, like clippings all over the, you know, as a tabletop,
Yeah. Yeah.
and, you know, in an ashtray, and they're always in the solarium sections of these Wendy's, you know. And as a kid, I always wanted to sit down there because it's like you're outside.
Yeah.
But it always smelled the worst, and it was always awful. And I always made whoever like, let's go sit in the solarium, but it was with all the smokers. And I just felt like I just felt like that's what I want to draw. I just want to draw smoking sections, solariums of fast food restaurants.
Cool.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Does anybody
Cool
ever want
thought.
to see those? I don't care.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's you know, I find art should be for yourself, you know, is an extension of your expression, your soul, your emotions, and whatever medium what's in front of you, what you lean towards, you should just go for it, you know, and whatever piques your interest. I was kind of have you ever I was wondering, like, have you ever shown your drawings anywhere publicly or gallery wise, or is
Well,
that
on Instagram, I do.
yeah. Well, I
Yeah, yeah.
noticed that on what
Oh,
was it, OG_artworks? Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I mean, people. I guess some people have reached out, but like, it's I'm still trying to figure out the right format for it. I just like doing it, but it's there were at my first videos I did with Chris, and they were fun, but there are a lot of editing, and I was trying to cut these things into like little small things, and I might do something with that still, but to film it and then to cut it down and to draw it, it does take up at least a good one night of my, and that's only one night, but it's just it does take up a little more time and this creative energy and kind of just effort. And so I'm trying to and I guess I'm just trying to do more before I ever show them. I sell a few of them, but they're all underneath my bed.
Hmm.
And with protected by other stuff, but down the line, maybe, but personally, I really haven't. I don't think I have found, for me, in my opinion, I guess what I'm trying to say, or my not my style. I don't know. Just I'm still kind of searching for that that perfect drawing, and maybe that's it. Maybe that's the whole point of drawing. Keep drawing. Is just like I am not quite ever satisfied. That's why I overdo
Yeah.
stuff all the time. I gild the lily, as my mom would say, constantly. But yeah, I don't know. I search online. I find stuff, and I'm watching something on YouTube. I freeze frame it, take a screen capture. I'm like, there's something about this image that moves me. I don't know what, but it does. So I have a little library of things I like. I don't necessarily want to draw, but I just like, what does this feeling give me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I really dig your line work. At least it's so free form, and that's kind of how I kind of draw myself with a lot of charcoal. And do you use a lot of pastels too, or charcoal, or pen, or
Charcoal and soft pastels. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
I feel like that's the fastest way of. I like the way it looks and feels. It's it is kind of messy, and you got to be very careful with it because it smears so easily. But the colors really are vibrant, and I really prefer to like draw on my sketchbook, and with pen and ink. But on a larger form, I really like doing these things because you kind of get the same, really good line variation and just kind of fun mistakes. And I guess that's what doing it, shooting videos of things, you just have to kind of keep it. I don't think I've ever, maybe only once or twice have I ever like redid a drawing. It's like what you see is like, that's it,
Cool.
Mistakes and all. I really like, I like mistakes. I like using them and covering them up and kind of seeing them and kind of, I like the muddiness of some parts of my drawings, because I screwed up there, but I think it's part of my style.
Cool. Yeah. So kind of just to wrap up like the conversation, what do you see, like, say, like your film work going? I know you have a few things in the works now with Matt, and are there other projects in that regards, but do you see yourself doing any other feature films or anything you kind of just want to envision in the long term?
My housemate Chris, who's a good friend of mine, but he's a DP and a photographer and done tons of stuff. We have been searching for a movie idea, a short film. We kind of got an idea in our heads. I tend to always jump off of ideas a lot, and like it's just if it just seems too hard to make on a small budget. But this idea is really exciting, so I've got that going on. I'm doing a bunch of stuff for my brother. I'm always taking acting classes, not always, but I just got done with some more groundlings improv classes and other classes, and I was in a TV show last year called No Activity, and I'm trying to get out there and act some more and try to find management agents, because that's actually really hard to still do. Really difficult to find all that stuff. So because people think I'm a documentarian, which I kind of am, but I have to kind of prove myself that I'm a decent actor as well.
Cool.
So yeah, I'm just, we got a few things happening. More things are happening now than they were like 2 years ago.
Yeah. Cool, man. Thank you for your time.
Robert, thank you. Yeah.
You mind once I stop recording and maybe take a still? I have this idea, this concept of how can I used when I interview subjects, I take stills post interview, and now I'm like, I can still do that. It would be interesting to capture, people in this realm, our new reality of how we interact, via web, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Cool. I just